Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Chapter by Chapter for Eye of the World. I am your host, Will Cowan, and with me, like always, is Steve Haynes. Steve, how are you doing today?
Ooh.
That's good.
Let me tell you, it's not good. I had way too much cheese and bread.
Yeah.
I've been having nightmares. I haven't been able to sleep.
It
was a rough one last night.
like it for the dreams that I get, cheese and bread shouldn't be as on the menu as it is in my life. But man, do I have a lot of cheese and bread. I really just broke it down the other day and I was like, holy shit. It's a lot of cheese and bread.
I just did grocery today and it was all cheese and bread.
Yeah, you're walking out of the store and you're like, God damn it. It's all just cheese and bread. So today we are getting into chapter 20. I believe it's chapter 20, right? Yeah, 20. It's the
chapter 20 of the Eye of the World, titled Dust on the Wind.
It's called Dust on the Wind because that's what our characters are trying to be right now. They're trying to turn into vapor and get the fuck out of there. The alternative chapter I would have put in here is just bail. Because
I would have been a good title.
Yeah,
too.
well, I was writing my notes today for this chapter, and I think I wrote down like they bail like 3-4 times. So
yeah, so basically that's what happens in this chapter.
Yep. So if you guys remember from yesterday's episode, Trollocs are on the march towards them. If they weren't really just keeping to a straight line, Lan said there was nothing they have to worry about, but they're coming into them at a straight line. They're kind of like avoiding everything that's about the city they're in. They're in Shadar Logoth.
Yeah, they're in that spooky fallen city.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that they're kind of have to keep aware of is that there's a smoke monster out there, or a bunch of smoke monsters, or shadow monsters.
All the above.
I like smoke monster a little bit better.
A little lost in there for you.
A little
fade.
Yeah, a little lost.
If we're gonna be, they're fades, right? If we're gonna be,
no, fades are Myrddraal.
Gotcha. But Myrddraals are also coming.
Yeah, Myrddraal. There's 4 of them. And like 100 Trollocs coming.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds of bad news. So all our characters right now are just like, we gotta get out of here. So we're picking up. They just get outside that white building. I guess it's kind of like a cathedral. Like it's
referred to several times as the white building, the white stone building.
Exactly.
So we'll call it that.
Exactly. Sure. And as they start walking, it doesn't take long for Rand and a couple of members of the group to fall behind Lan and Moraine.
Yeah.
They get I think they say they're 30 paces ahead, and as that happens, a tendril of smoke billows over across the road.
Yeah, like fog. Like silver fog just takes over everything.
Yeah, and it's starting to grow. It's like he describes it as kind of like it's like a arms thickness. It's about thick as an arm, and then it starts to grow into as thick as a leg, and just keeps on growing. Lan and Moraine double back, and they're like, we're obviously gonna have to separate, because she just drops a bomb. She's like, this smoke or this fog, don't touch it, because if you do, you'll die.
Yeah, that it's the evil of Shadar Logoth, which kills you with just a touch. You can't stop it.
Mashadar.
The Mashadar.
Yeah.
Sounds like a delicious potato dish, if you ask me.
Oh, man. I would go for so much Mashadar right now. It's not even funny. Ooh. So, look, Moraine's kind of plan is she points to the sky. She sees a red star up there. She says, follow that red star. It'll take you to the river. By the time we get to the river, we can find a boat.
Regroup and hopefully be safe.
Yeah, we'll find something. We can get out of here.
And then she's like, good luck. And rides off with Lan, the only competent fighter.
And then that leaves Rand.
I shouldn't say the only competent fighter, but the best one.
Yeah, right now it's he's the best one. So they just disappear into the smoke to figure out their own way to the river. And Rand kind of has a moment where he just naturally leads the group. He doesn't say anything. There's nothing said in this part but he just kind of turns the group around, and he starts leading them kind of in that direction. Like, we got to figure out how to get past this smoke somehow, or fog, so we can get to the river. So he has a little bit of moment of leadership, but it's not really dragged out there for a second, because as they're walking along, they stop in front of like two or three Trollocs. And there's like this moment where they both
It's
pause
two,
and
I think.
stare at
Two of
each
them
other.
just sort of pop out in the street
Yeah, and I think
around
it's
a
one of those.
corner.
And there's this moment where they both pause and they look at each other as they're both kind of like, "Oh shit!" Like, both groups, like the Trollocs are like, "Is that them? That's them," and the heroes are just, "Those are Trollocs. Oh my god!"
And then in
This
that
is kind of
moment
like,
too, like all simultaneously, right after that moment of them preparing to fight these two Trollocs, more Trollocs come out, and then more
oh
Trollocs,
yeah,
and then more Trollocs, and within like 5 seconds, there's like 30 Trollocs around them.
yeah, exactly. So all of them bail. And that's where like Rand's like leadership abilities all dwindle right in front of you. Like, you have 5 seconds of good natured leadership, and then everybody just goes off in their own directions immediately when the shit hits the fan.
Bail, bail, bail. There's nothing else they could do. Run.
Exactly. And this is kind of like, I was thinking about this when I was reading this part. I was like, man, this could use a little bit more comedy writing. This is kind of a funny bit. And I know this is not the end of the story, because it's still only halfway through the book. I have this much space left in the book for all this story. But I think this spot would have been great for a little bit more comedic timing. You know what I mean? Especially that moment where they all just kind of like stop and look at each other. But Robert Jordan's kind of style of writing, it's very much like cut and
Not
dry.
a lot of
You know what I
comedy,
mean?
especially in
Not a
this
lot of
world,
comedy, yeah.
which
Yeah,
is fine.
exactly.
Like I don't. I find I make my own comedy. I find it in there. All right, cheese and bread, baby.
Cheese and bread. So they all disperse into their own directions, but we just stick with Rand. I think that the narrative purpose is we just stick with Rand, and Rand is bailing. He's jumping over fog, he's dodging branches, he's dodging catch bowls and nooses and all this sort of shit. Things are not looking good, and he bails to he rides to a point where he gets to this structure where he feels like he's safe enough away, and that's where he's able to kind of take a breather, right?
Yeah, and he's with he's with like Tom and everyone, right? Rand, Matt, and Tom are together at this point.
No. This is him by himself, I believe, because this is where he gets to this structure, and he sees a shape kind of by the structure, kind of hiding away, and he goes to like attack the shape, because like Rand's not like, I guess he's been in one battle, but now like every battle he just charges.
Well, it's working for him.
It's working for us so far, and he charges at this shape, but it's Matt. So he's like, oh, okay. So it's just Matt and Rand at this
And Matt's
moment.
losing it. And Matt's like, man,
Matt's not
there's
having a good
Trollocs
time.
everywhere. What is going on? What are you doing? You're just running at them? You're just that's your move?
just willy-nilly, no care in the world, just jumping right at these guys.
I got confused there. And then shortly after that is where Tom then pops out too. And Tom's kind of holding his own.
Tom's a badass. Tom kind of shows
the Gleeman is bringing
of
glee to the Trollocs in the form of death. But Tom comes out and basically says the same thing. Trollocs are everywhere. We gotta move.
Well, I actually wrote down the line because it's fantastic. The line is, he bursts out of the trees and he goes, "Ride, you fools!
Ride, you fools! Ride!"
Which is a great. I don't know if Robert Jordan was like doing a nod to Lord of the Rings with the "Fly, you fools," but it's great. It's perfect. But that's where this scene kind of ends right here, and then we jump around. This scene's kind of split between a couple of characters, because once everybody splits,
this chapter is really split up narratively from like Rand's point of view and Perrin's point of view.
Right. Yeah, because at this point we cut to Perrin and where he's at, and after Perrin bails from that situation where they run into the Trollocs the first time, he finds himself in like this square, like this town square sort of area with a broken fountain, and he's just kind of like keeping himself together. He's not having a good time. And like at this point, they're all thinking like, what if they're all dead?
Well, that's it. Is everyone's split up, and there is a high chance that people are dead, except that most of them are main characters, but they don't realize that.
They don't know that. So it's at this point where Egwene, where Perrin finds Egwene. I can't remember exactly the sort of situation, but
It
it's
was
very similar to the
it
way.
was like he saw her horse first, sort of coming out,
Yeah, it's a very
and
similar sort of
prepared
situation.
for hostile activity, but
Yeah.
then quickly realized it was Egwene and was like, "Nice, cool. You're not dead. Have you seen anyone else?" And
Sweet.
she's like, "Nope. But you know what I have seen?
Yeah.
Trollocs everywhere. We gotta go."
And they bail. That's the note I have here. Well, they hear a couple horn blasts and they're like, "Let's go."
Yeah,
Let's
Trolloc
go.
horns start going, and they're basically like, "We gotta go. We don't have time to find everyone. Everyone will regroup." And
Yeah.
Perrin takes off and just like rides off of the edge of the river, like right into it.
Yeah.
Trollocs are attacking him, and he is just like just going down river. And Trollocs are like throwing spears in the river with him.
He's dodging them and shit.
He's he's trying, but he's just flailing. He's just flailing down that river.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Until he sort of gets to an area on the other side of the bank where it's, a clearing.
Well, he had to like peel off a bunch of layers because he was getting dragged down by the current. Like his cloak, he had to take off. He had to take off a bunch of gear.
Yeah, so he's naked.
Yeah, and his horse. I think his horse went into the river as well, and the horse.
Yeah, the horse did go in the river, and the horse did not come out of the river.
Yeah, he did not come out. I mean, we don't know yet. Maybe the horse shows up at some other point, but as of right now, like, Perrin's got an axe, and he's on the other side of a river. That's all he's got going for him right now.
And that's where we leave off with Perrin, and we jump back to Rand and everyone else.
Yeah, Rand, Tom, and Matt.
And meanwhile, Tom is kicking ass on Trollocs.
Oh man, this opening scene where it's Rand and Matt kind of dodging these Trollocs, and then Tom bursts out of some corner or out of the bushes or something,
like out of the trees,
flinging knives.
Yeah,
like some sort of Legolas nonsense.
Yeah, and he like knifes two of them.
Yeah.
And then while this is happening, Matt's like shooting arrows into there. He hits one in the eye with an arrow too.
Yeah. And they're all dodging the catch pole nooses. The best part though is just Tom lighting these guys up like John Wick. Like there's no doubt about it that he's just kicking ass.
Yeah, he's a ninja assassin who also play you a beautiful tune on his lute.
Oh man,
sing you a song of the people. Inform you of history, current events, politics, and then also murder monsters for you. He's a whole package.
I was thinking about this while I was reading that scene. I was like, what if he kind of has a mercenary sort of background? He's well versed.
He's street smart.
He's definitely street smart. Like maybe he was a soldier or from some sort of military background because he's had training.
I think he's just
kind of specialty training.
I think he's just like. I think he's just been on the streets. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I think he's hardened. I think he's learned. I think he's seen a lot. He's traveled a lot. Seen many things.
It's not easy being a Gleeman, man. That's one of his songs.
Ain't it true?
So they're dashing. They're trying to find anywhere to get out, and they see off into the distance through a bunch of trees. They see like a light, and it's by the Arnell River.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, cool. Let's keep going that way. And once they get to the river, they realize that light is actually
it's a boat
coming from a ship.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's our ticket. Let's get out of here. So they basically just board the ship.
Well, yeah, they board the ship and everyone on the ship is sleeping.
Yeah, everybody's sleeping. And these guys are not aware of the fact that there's like 100 or so Trollocs barreling down on them. So they get on the ship, and I think that's when I believe this is where Rand like falls on somebody, or he trips into like I can't remember the exact set of circumstances right now, but they jump onto the boat, and Trollocs attack as well, and everybody just gets up and they start like battling the Trollocs.
Yeah, once
And
the
Rand
crew
falls on this guy.
realizes what's happening, they go like they got their shit together.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
go
yeah.
into defensive modes.
They're like pirates, and we love
We love
pirates, don't we,
pirates.
Steve?
Oh,
We love pirates.
we gotta go find a good pirate book to do for this thing because we love pirates.
Well, we don't know yet. Maybe this will turn into a pirate book.
I really hope that one of the books in the series is just all on the water.
Yeah, it's so good. So, Rand then trips on some guy, and the guy, like, he thinks that he's a Trolloc or something. He just immediately trips out about the whole thing. He's like, "I'm sorry, I give up. Don't hurt me, please." And there's a Trolloc just coming after Rand, like this wolf-faced Trolloc. And just as he's about to swing at his head, a boom from the ship
Gagai!
comes out of nowhere, swipes that bastard right off the side of the ship. And that pretty much wraps up that battle. And that's when the captain comes out, the captain of the ship, Captain Domon.
Bail Domon.
Domon. He gets out there, and he's like, he gets all captain-y up in there.
He's real captain-y.
Oh yeah, the way that they describe him too, he's got a big round face and he's got a big beard. He's young, but he looks experienced. You know what I mean? Like not really young. Maybe I'm getting that all wrong. Maybe that's just the way I thought of it in my head. But like just a grizzled guy. And he's getting captain. He's throwing orders at these guys. He's yelling at the dude that like, why wasn't this boom fixed? Blah 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 blah.
He's yelling at the other dude for the guy who's supposed to be on security watch. Because like he's like, you just let these kids walk on. They just walked on. We were asleep.
Yeah, brought a bunch of Trollocs.
Yeah, it is Trollocs.
Yeah, you guys are so bad at this. Then he turns his attention to Rand and the rest of the group, and Matt starts telling like, we're this group. We're trying to get to Whitebridge, and from Whitebridge we're trying to get to, and then Tom cuts him off.
Tom cuts him off, and he's like, We are Gleemen.
He's like, stop it. We are all Gleemen.
Here to bring
I'm
glee.
a Gleeman.
And these are my Gleeman apprentices.
Yeah.
Apprentices.
And he bakes up this whole story about treasure hunting, and
all on the spot too.
Well, he's like, oh yeah,
his
yeah,
improv skills. Oof. Yes, and
he's really good.
He is killing it.
Yeah. And Dahlman buys it. He's like, okay, but I don't take anybody across the river for free. I don't let anybody ride on my boat for free. He says it a few times where he's like, I don't even let my grandmother ride on this boat for free.
And Tom's like,
so
well,
you need to pay me something.
Too bad, because we're broke.
Well, then he's like, well, how about that sword? And he points to Rand's sword.
And Rand's like, not
like,
my
no!
goodies. Because that sword doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
But thus, we know it does. So we can't part with that yet.
So, instead, Rand's like, pull out your change. Everybody pulls out his change, and he gives all the change that they have, all the money that they have ever, to this captain. And I think that includes the coins that they have that Moraine gave them.
It does include the coins that Moraine gave them.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think that is a thing. That is definitely a thing. There's a great part where Tom looks at Rand and he's like, I could have gotten us across for like a couple of songs.
Yeah, he's like, you should have just let me keep going, because
this crowd looks like an Our Lady of Peace crowd, and I have them wrapped around my finger.
Do you know how many of those songs I know? Like,
I know all of them. I know all of OLP.
But yeah, I mean, overall, that's basically it. And overall, it's a pretty great chapter. A lot of action in this one. A lot of stuff happening, keeping you on your toes, keeping you on the move. But one of the most interesting things of this chapter is this is where we really start to see the divide in our group of heroes. and separate.
Yes.
Like this is where people are now separated. And chapters ending with our groups sort of paired out, and we'll see that going forward that some of these groups get into a little more excitement than some of the others. But we'll find that out in the next coming days.
Yeah, I think that'll be the first episode next week, which will be Listen to the Wind. Ooh. Not Dust on the Wind. Now you gotta listen to that dust. The dust is
gone. I just gotta listen.
You just gotta listen. The dust has things to say. So thank you so much for listening today. We'll be back next week for chapter 21.